there's been a bit of a scandal brewing in the games industry with some debate back and forth on what exactly went down with Black Myth Wukong. And Black Myth Wukong, of course, it's only launched on PC and PS5 at this point. There's been conflicting reasons as to why, though. The developers have previously stated that they couldn't get it working with an issue on the hardware. Basically, Series S held it back. It couldn't run on that, so they had to hold it back. And so they didn't put it down on Xbox. But previously, they said that's basically the only reason that it was not on Xbox. However, Paul Tassi tweeted out something, I believe yesterday. He said it wasn't on the Xbox due to a source telling him it's an exclusivity deal after all. So basically, he has a contact that tells him something quite to the opposite. So a source with specific knowledge of the situation has told me that contrary to previous reporting and even departing from Game Science's own statement, the reason Black Myth Wukong is not currently on Xbox is due to an exclusivity deal, not because of some sort of technical issue causing a delay in the release of the game. IGN has also confirmed this same information. This is important to note. IGN has independently been able to corroborate that info from their own source. So it's one thing if a journalist from, again, Forbes is a reputable source, as is IGN, I think, at least with this type of reporting. And they are saying they have contacts that are telling them that this is here and this is why. It's not been disclosed. It hasn't been discussed by PlayStation or Game Science. Game Science previously said that the only reason that they were not releasing an Xbox was because they couldn't get it to reach their quality standards, which could be true. I mean, there's ways that both sides of this could be true. It could be true that they decided to sign an exclusivity deal because they couldn't get it working on Xbox anyways. And so they're like, hey, we can't release it on Xbox anyways. Let's just sign a deal to make it exclusive to PlayStation for a while, and then we'll bring it to Xbox once it's actually able to run. Maybe that's what they decided to do. Who knows? But Jeff Grubb, another reliable source, said, quote, no Sony money marketing deal keeping the Black Myth Wukong off Xbox. There was a misunderstanding around this stuff. I heard Sony only paid to help get the port done, no exclusivity. And then Paul replies, I have lots of respect for Jeff and Nick. I would not have published without what I consider to be an extremely authoritative source. Frustrating to not be able to say more. The situation has been described to me as bizarre, which I can certainly agree with at this point. So at the very least, Jeff says he has heard from his sources that Sony paid to get the port done, but it's not necessarily an exclusive deal. They just paid to help get the port ready so it could run on PlayStation. But Paul and independently IGN are reporting that there is some sort of exclusivity deal involved with this. That could be tied to the port that they did, where the port, they helped polish it up, and as a result of that, there's something where it's like, okay, yeah, we're gonna help you get the port, and then you just keep it exclusive for a month or two. Who knows? But at the very least, it's confusing that there's this much back and forth. So I don't really know who to believe at this point. I think both parties are reporting what their contacts have told them accurately. I think both are reflecting honestly what they've been told. But it seems like even people in the know that are speaking to Paul Tassi and Forbes and IGN are saying, yeah, the situation's bizarre. And that seems to be right. I don't know why PlayStation wouldn't just come out and say, we have no exclusivity deal, full stop. Maybe they have. Maybe by the time this video goes up on the Clips channel, we do see that, you know. Can't spell ignorant without IGN. That's funny. I like that. That's clever. That's funny. I think the point of bringing up IGN, if it was just coming from IGN, I'd be like, especially with regard to Black Myth Wukong, they haven't had exactly great reporting with regard to that game, in my opinion. But the fact that they are corroborating what Paul Tassi from Forbes is independently saying and what he came out with first, which was this story, and then they say, yeah, our contact has also told us the same thing. That to me verifies that at the very least, this is the sentiment that's being passed around by people that they consider to be in the know. While Jeff Grubb disagrees and his contact says that's not quite what happened. It's just bizarre, certainly, as they allude to, that there is a misunderstanding here. Because you would think if there were an exclusivity deal, it would just be like, yep, there is. Why is this even a question? You know? If this is true, so what? If this is true, it's the so what is because what Game Science has said, they've not disclosed an exclusivity deal. All they've said is we are currently optimizing the Xbox Series X and S versions to meet our quality standards, so it won't release simultaneously with the other platforms. So, meaning as a result of this, it is not releasing on other platforms. We apologize for the delay and aim to minimize the wait for Xbox users. We will announce the release date as soon as it meets our quality standards. Not as soon as an exclusivity deal ends, as soon as it meets our quality standards. But if there's an exclusivity deal, like this isn't true. It won't be like, maybe they'll announce the date then, but at the very least, again, it's just weirdly vague. And the fact that there's even a question here is frankly bizarre, because when there is exclusivity deals for other games, you normally, like, that is disclosed, exclusive to PlayStation for 6 months or for a year or whatever it is. Like, I don't know why this is even a question. It's just bizarre. Like, they should be clear about this. If they paid for exclusivity, just say so. I don't think anybody would be that shocked or pissed about it. People are like, okay, yeah, no, Sony does that. I don't know why they're beating around the bush with it. And I don't know why Game Science would also be very coy or not disclose it. You know, it's weird. And you see some people that are freaking out. Source, trust me, bro. Trust me, bro. I would say all anonymous sources work this way. The whole premise of reporting on stuff like this is that a source contacts the journalist and then says, hey, don't leak my name, please, because obviously I'm not allowed to tell you this stuff. So none of this is novel. It's the same thing with Jason Schreier. Like, if he has contacts within Bungie that are telling him about stuff going on with the allegations of misconduct, conduct from executives within that company, his source is also kind of, trust me, bro, but it's people familiar with the matter. And it's because it's coming from a reliable outlet in the form of Bloomberg that you can put some trust in their reporting. That's why, like, if it were just IGN, I'd put less weight in it. But if, like, the fact that it's coming from Forbes and then also confirmed by IGN, that tells you there is something here. Like, at the very least, there's confusion and misunderstanding. Like I said at the top, I think that both things can be true. I think on the one hand, it could be true that they couldn't get the game running very well on Xbox. And as a result, they were not going to release on Xbox. While that can be true, they could have also gone to PlayStation and said, hey, do you want to sign an exclusivity deal? And we'll just not bring it to Xbox. They weren't going to anyways, but Sony doesn't need to know that. And then they get a little bit of extra cash for a month of exclusivity or 6 months or whatever. And then after that exclusivity deal is signed, they agree like, okay, well, when it's ready and we actually get it running, then we'll release it on Xbox, but that'll also be after the exclusivity deal. I think both of these things could be true, but at the very least, it's frankly bizarre that there isn't a clear disclosure or anything about this from anybody yet. I reached out to Sony and Game Science and I will update if I hear back. Again, I don't know what the big deal is about this. Like, why can't they just say it or say there is no exclusive deal? You know, like, again, it's like the silence is weird and more confusing, because if they just said, yeah, there is an exclusive deal for a month or for 6 months or whatever, then I think, okay, you've disclosed it. Okay, cool. I mean, you kind of suggested it was only not coming to Xbox because of the hardware problems, but now, like, we're just all over the place. It's just very confusing. All told, I mean, it's just a weird story that really, the story I don't think is that big of a deal. If it ends up being exclusive to PlayStation for a while, okay. I would still wonder why you didn't just say so, and instead you're saying it's because of hardware problems and not mentioning an exclusivity deal. But again, when two different independent groups are saying they're hearing the same thing, that it is an exclusivity deal, where there's smoke, there's fire. And like, that doesn't just happen. I think they should at the very least clarify it. And as of the time we're streaming this, there is no update from Sony or from Game Science on an exclusivity deal, which is just strange, because you'd think that this would be just an easy, nope, no deal. It's just a misunderstanding. There's no deal. Or a quick, yeah, there is a deal, exclusive for a month. Just say that. Just say that. Like, I don't know why we have to, like, be so coy about it. I think maybe there's a chance that the exclusivity deal, like, they don't want to disclose it, because honestly, it's a worse look for Xbox if Black Myth Wukong isn't on the platform because of hardware problems. That's a bad look for Xbox. If it's exclusive to PlayStation because they signed a deal to make it exclusive to PlayStation, that still is an oopsie from Xbox that they didn't compete for that exclusivity deal, or they didn't, like, counter it or something. That's still a bad look, but it's certainly, like, not as bad as the only reason you missed out on one of the biggest games of the year is because your hardware is weaker. You know, like, that's That's a worse thing. There are no secret exclusivity deals ever. I agree there shouldn't be, but this makes you wonder, like, oh, are there underhanded secret things happening where they're not disclosing? Because I was under the impression, and maybe I'm wrong, I thought they had to disclose this stuff. Maybe there's a loophole with it being a Chinese company instead of like a Western company that has operations in the States or something, where they can get away from limitations with disclosure regulations. I don't know, and I won't pretend to know, but it seems like they should disclose it at the very least. And it's strange that they have not. So we'll keep an eye on this. If they do update it, if Sony and PlayStation do disclose it later, then we can talk about it. But it has been over 24 hours and there's been no update from PlayStation or Game Science, which is odd. He took my thing. Red flag, red